Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining early. We're going to get started promptly at 2 p.m., so we'll chat with you soon. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining a little bit early. We're going to begin right at the top of the hour, so we'll speak to you soon. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar on data quality for business agility. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you of a few housekeeping things. One, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A function to submit any questions you might have, and we'll cover them at the end. Two, the webinar is being recorded, and that recording will actually be sent out in the next few days to all of you. And lastly, there will be 3 poll questions at different times in the webinar, so we would love if you could respond to those. Today, Experian will dive into our latest findings from this year's research that took place across the US, the UK, and Australia, and how over 900 business leaders view the importance of data quality in their business today. So before we jump in, we want to first introduce ourselves. My name is Jordan Tetler. I'm the Product Marketing and Content Manager for Experian's Data Quality business in North America. I'm based out of Boston and lead the global market research and thought leadership programs for Experian Data Quality. And today I have Jeff Hopps here with me, so I'll pass it to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jordan. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm a director in product here with Experian, located in Southern California, and really excited to share some of the key insights from our research, share some industry best practices, and some of the best practices we're seeing from our clients today. I've been with Experian for over 4 years now and just hit my 1-year mark with Experian Data Quality. And since I've been here for a year, I've been able to speak to many of you that registered for the webinar, and it's been great to get to know you and your businesses, and look forward to continuing that discussion.
Great, thanks, Jeff. So in this presentation today, we'll uncover just how important data quality is to an organization's operation and how it can help them stay agile when they need it most. We'll break this down by looking at three main categories. So we'll see making data fit for purpose in today's market, why agility is a must-have, and lastly, why quality matters. And with that, we can jump right in. So before we get to the good stuff, I want to give you a brief overview on where this data came from. As I mentioned, for this year's data management research, we surveyed over 900 business leaders across the US, UK, and Australia on their perception of data and how it can help in today's environment. Everyone who we surveyed has visibility or knowledge of that data within their organization and come from companies with more than 250 employees. Diving deeper into the people behind our survey, they are mostly in IT and sales roles at a manager or director level and across industries like finance, retail, tech, health, and education. And now we're going to jump into making data fit for purpose. In this section, we'll take a look at what's happening in the market, the state of data, where your peers are pushing their funds to invest more in data management, and we'll end on a really cool use case that we're seeing happen in the market today. So we're all aware that the market is not what it used to be. It's always changing. And we don't want to harp on the pandemic too much, but it's true that many of these market changes, like digital transformation, have been accelerated because of what's been happening the last 2 years. And as you guys know, so much has changed in just the last couple of years, from accelerated digital transformation to now we're seeing the Great Resignation. While trying to innovate their path forward, organizations are also met with the challenge of losing tenured employees, hiring employees, and training new employees. And the concept of digital transformation itself has been discussed time and time again. I know we talk about it a lot at Experian, but it's so important and innovation is moving so quickly. We'll talk through several use cases over the next 40 minutes or so, but what I want to preview here is that even in the most traditional industries are starting to move snail mail to the side and explore text message, social media, email, and other digital channels. For instance, take collection agencies and mortgage lenders. Both are market drivers and regulators are saying it's time to innovate and explore those digital first approaches. Or take retailers taking a multi-channel approach to reach their customer before anyone else and staying competitive. And as different companies and industries start on that journey toward innovation and meeting those consumers through preferred digital channels, organizations are realizing that they need and want better data and fast. Data management has allowed organizations to keep up with understanding customers' rapidly changing needs and has allowed them to stay on top of varying consumer trends. We'll discuss later on how quality contact data helps you reach and stay in touch with consumers as well. Lots to come. And in fact, how inaccurate data has the total opposite response and can limit an organization's response to the market. So in this year's research, we found that leaders are putting an emphasis on the need to be agile and flexible in both their business and data operation, so they can be ready for anything that's coming their way, like we experienced 2 years ago. And what we're saying here throughout this presentation is that data is foundational, especially in times of change. That could be big environment changes like the pandemic, or it could be within your own organization, like changing employees, operations, technology, and so on.
And just to chime in on that 97% stat, that's really extraordinary that virtually all those surveyed are investing in their data management programs. And this can mean a lot of things. We're seeing companies replatforming to simplify their tech stack, Some are attempting to cleanse and update their customer records, and some are looking to automate manual processing. We're going to talk a lot more about these later today, and especially about automation. That continues to be a huge trend. But the fact that virtually all companies are planning to improve their data management program is something that we haven't seen before in our other surveys.
You're so right, Jeff. I love that 97% stat, and I was super excited to see that come out of our research report. And it just shows that organizations have an increased focus on data quality and really getting the right tools in their organization, tools that are easily adoptable by their teams, and really make an impact with job performance too. And in the next section, we'll talk about what this actually means and how organizations are keeping up with the environment. But before we get there, we want to uncover a bit more about what data looks like in organizations today. And with that, we want to ask our first poll question. So the poll reads, my organization has so much data that we find it difficult to prioritize, know where to start, and or where to add the most value. We have 3 answers here, true, false, or I don't know. And you can answer the polls right on your screen. So I'll give you a second to do that. Great, we're already seeing a few come in, so thank you so much. It really looks like everyone is in the same boat. So everyone really looks like they're in the same playing field here. There is a lot of data. Most people and consumers these days have pretty extensive digital footprints, which increases the amount of data and information businesses are collecting. For example, I have a minimum of 3 active emails right now, my work and 2 personal emails. And in my lifetime, I've had even more. I've had a university email, work, internships, those AIM emails, and that's just one person. And as you all know, as the company, you need to figure out, 1, who is that customer, and is he or she a customer of ours? Have they purchased before? 2, how do we contact him or her? And 3, what is the best way to contact that customer? What channel do they prefer? And for instance, what's the best email? Times that by 1 million and more for all of your customers. What I'm trying to say here is that you're not alone. Our research shows that your peers are feeling the exact same way and believe there's too much data to prioritize. In fact, the respondents of our survey say they managed a minimum of 4 databases and upwards of 20. That's a lot. But if it's too much to see value, why do organizations keep pushing forward? And it's because data makes the difference. 3/4 of those who say data quality has improved in last year have also exceeded their goals and targets. There's no doubt you have a lot of data on your plate, but it's the quality that matters.
And this is a really important slide and point that Jordan and I try to prove today, and really in all the webinars we present. And that's that data quality is positively correlated with business results. And that 75% or 3/4 of the respondents that invested in data quality are also exceeding their business goals and targets really helps us prove our point. So basically, this slide gives us some street cred going into the rest of the presentation. Right, Jordan?
Yes, totally. And like Jeff said, we just love that stat so much. It was similar to my feeling of that 97%. That's how I felt when I saw the 75%. And we really believe and hope that you guys are seeing that difference too with your data. So why else does data quality matter? Business growth, as we just said, really supports our claim here, but it's also about poor quality data and that having the opposite effect. For instance, if you're trying to improve customer experience, bad data can have negative results. Say you mail a package to the wrong address, or activate a campaign to find out all the emails landed in spam folders, or that personalized campaign that was meant to include names have the wrong name or misspelled the name. I know I see that a lot with my name and the various ways it's spelled. We have countless examples of scenarios like this, and all in all, it's not good for your reputation, your customer experience, or managing risk. If you're trying to work at a speedy and agile pace, bad data slows you down. 85% of our respondents indicate that poor quality contact data for customers negatively impacts their operational processes and efficiency. And as we alluded to when we spoke about market changes, so many consumers usually experience some kind of change that will impact how you reach them, especially nowadays. People leave jobs, people start new jobs, move to new places, get married, and change their name, which is why contact data is decaying faster than ever. But because organizations are aware that data is one of the most valuable assets and the ramifications that poor quality data can have, they want to invest in the right areas to make their data management program better overall and more agile. Your peers are looking at a few key components to their data-driven organization. There's a lot here, but we can break these down into three main categories. And that really sets the foundation for a data management program. The biggest key identifier we want to call out is trustworthy data. And if we look at trustworthy data as that top characteristic for a data-driven organization, we want to look at how your peers are getting there, right? And that's through, or tends to be through, technology, people, and resources. Organizations are defining themselves as data-driven when they have the right technology that is easy to use, provides speedy and flexible access that can easily be scaled, like you see on your screen here, visualization capabilities to easily collaborate cross-departmentally, and fully integrated tech to remove any silos. Integrated data quality capabilities is a huge topic that we'll continue to talk about throughout this presentation, and that could mean integrating data quality control measures into your e-commerce or CRM platforms, for instance. When organizations consider their people as part of that data experience, they want to make sure that data is highly relevant to their users. And they also want to make sure that it supports pivoting business initiatives and provides access to a wider range of roles. You may know this as data democratization. And lastly, resources. To be data-driven, organizations need to instill best practices across the business as well as data literacy programs. This supports everyday users and their experience using that data technology. It also enables both businesses and data users, or business users and data users, to understand how to maintain that trust in their data and that overall data management program. And with that, I want to pass it over to Jeff, and he'll share a really cool case study that we have for you.
Great, thanks, Jordan. So we do have three fun case studies to share with you today. And yes, we just use cool and fun to talk about our case studies. And since you're here, I hope you think so as well. So the first one is from a mortgage company in the United States. And when we think about data and making sure that it's fit for purpose, one of the most important use cases is the reporting of loan performance data to the credit bureaus. Lenders have a regulatory responsibility under the FCRA to ensure that the loan performance data is accurate. And all of us as consumers also rely on those lenders to make sure that accurate data is reported on the performance of our loans. And so this mortgage lender was meeting those obligations routinely. However, their data management reporting process was full of manual data manipulation and analysis that required 65 hours per month, every month, of a senior employee's time to complete it. And so Jordan just talked about data management tools, and I mentioned that automation is going to be a major theme today. And so this mortgage lender reached out to Experian to help improve that manual data reporting analytics and auditing process. And we were able to help them implement our product called DA360. And this product has more than 130 custom rules and automated reporting built directly into the product. These are Metro 2 rules developed by experts that are pre-built into our solution. That's used for auditing and analytics, so that organizations can see, lenders in particular can see how they are doing, meeting their obligations. So the automation that we're able to provide results in a 77% reduction in manual effort to do the very same analysis that was previously done completely manually. So what was 65 hours of work every month is now only about 15. And so this improved efficiency allows that senior employee to focus on other revenue generating activities. And again, this is a great example that shows how automation can free up resources so that they can work on other high priority business objectives. And automation is continuing to be a major theme among our clients with analysts and others experts in the field across multiple industries. So we have countless other examples where our data quality management platform is being used to automate file ingestion, identify failing fields, and transform data for downstream processing. And we actually use this tool internally to do the same thing. So it's, we're using our data quality management platform for other products and services that we offer. Okay, so switching gears a bit, we're going to talk about data enabling business agility and why it's more important than ever to have your data in good shape. So in our research study, we defined both business and data agility when we asked our questions. Simple definition of business agility is the ability to pivot strategies, development, and customer engagement models quickly based on market conditions or new opportunities or new threats. Obviously, this has become a crucial element in navigating and operating today. And we've talked about how COVID has changed the way we work and provide services with the acceleration of digital first, and how companies needed to and did quickly pivot to meet new demands and opportunities. So data agility we see as a subset and a key enabler of business agility. Data agility means that data is essentially prepared. It's cleansed, it's governed, and it's maintained so that business decisions, business agility, can happen. And most importantly, that data is trusted based on those processes and procedures we have in place. Data agility means that your data can be activated to inform business decisions, to support new processes, products, and services. And then again, trust being the key word in that definition. If your business leaders can't trust the fundamental data, then any insights or directions or decisions made based on that data could be problematic. And then, so here's a practical example of how data agility affects business continuity. So Jordan mentioned the Great Resignation on the onset, and everyone knows we're in a crazy employment cycle. We see employees are resigning and changing companies with really unprecedented frequency. And you might see your employees or coworkers change, and maybe even you're backfilling a role today. And the Great Resignation has really demonstrated the need for organizations to maintain clean data, data governance, and a data-driven culture. Again, data agility. And by ensuring that your data is agile and ready and conditioned, we can see the players change in your organization, but the core integrity and readiness of the data helps maintain business continuity. So on the positive side of that coin, if your new coworkers can get to work with confidence and understanding of the foundational data, they can bring new insights. So fresh eyes to solve new problems, new challenges, spot new opportunities. But that's all reliant on having your foundational data agile and ready for deployment. One additional note, I actually heard from a client just yesterday that they're needing to accelerate, again, automation. because they're having trouble filling roles. So data agility and automation, again, helping with business agility and affecting business agility. So what are your peers doing to ensure that their data supports business agility? First, 85% are hiring data roles. This is not really surprising since we know that 97% of organizations are investing in their data management programs. We did see this trend last year, but organizations are increasing their focus on hiring data roles, analysts, data quality experts, and data engineers at a pretty massive scale. Second, again, automation, with 81% of the survey group looking to automate processes to free up resources. So just like our first case study. And I can, speaking with several of customers, several of you, this will continue to be a major focus. And lastly, 88% of the survey group are achieving data agility by integrating data quality into their existing applications. This is a trend that many analysts see as increasing over the next few years as more organizations, product teams, platform providers are starting to realize the importance of data quality and how data quality can actually affect the performance of products and customer satisfaction. So obviously, Experian Data Quality, we recognize this trend as well, and that's why we've integrated with several platforms to help end customers achieve the benefits of data quality through minimal changes to their existing tech stack. We have integrations with Salesforce, Oracle applications, and are actually looking to roll out address and email validations through Snowflake in the next couple of months. So stay tuned there.
Jeff, I'm just going to jump in to chime in quickly here. I want to echo what you're saying and really hone in on the fact that this breakdown to implement an agile infrastructure with data quality is super, super important. We're seeing it time and time again with our customers, like Jeff mentioned. And we've heard from various clients that it's easy to assume that data entered into your database is correct, right? And that's not usually the case. In fact, in the past years, we found that human error can account for upwards of 50% of data entry mistakes, which is huge. And that could be your customer entering in, on an e-commerce site or an online application, or that could be your end user entering that information in directly into the database. And if you're assuming the customer data is right, you're assuming that email, for instance, is reaching the intended inbox or the package is being delivered to the right doorstep. But what happens if it's not? This is our point that it could be really slowing you down, or inaccurate data could be slowing you down in various parts of your operation. So that foundation that Jeff mentioned above will help you set up for success and really save you time and money in the long run.
Definitely. And we've heard several times, especially when we talk to other product and service providers, that we just assume that the data is quality, but then we can see impacts to match rate. We can see other performance issues that start to affect. So great point, Jordan, on assuming data is entering correctly. And I think we talked about this in the last webinar, where there's so many different ingestion points that there's a lot of opportunities. And Jordan's going to show some tools to help with that process later. But hopefully by now, we've made our points around the importance of data agility, especially as said by your peers. So here's the benefits directly listed by those in the survey. First, top is better decision making. Touched on this earlier, and data agility plays into being able to activate the right trusted data for interpretation and decision making. Second is customer experience. We have another case study on the next slide that will talk more about this. Operational efficiency. Think again about automation and the first case study where our data management platform helps with a 77% monthly savings. And then business resilience, thinking again about the Great Resignation, and several more from cost savings, revenue, not to be taken lightly. So let's jump into our next case study. And this one is a great example where we were able to help this company become more agile through their data agility, and how the data can enable strategic decision making and implement new business processes. We actually have several clients that have made this pivot and change. So this use case is starting to become more adopted by more lenders and companies broadly. And as far as the challenge, it's the objective of all lenders, marketers, organizations that spend money trying to reach clients to reach customers when they are displaying buying signals. There's a ton of ways to identify buying behavior, but historically, especially in mortgage, auto, and other high value products, after those buying behaviors and signals are identified, physical mail is sent to the potential customer with marketing messages to try to win their business. And many of our clients are finding that traditional physical mail is becoming more costly and may not be fast enough to keep up with buyers' behaviors. Again, thinking of the acceleration of digital first strategies, consumer shopping trends that started in the pandemic and are accelerating. So some clients are actually shifting to an email first deployment to quickly send marketing messages to consumers when they're displaying those buying signals. So in this case, again, what we're able to do for several clients is quickly append emails, consumer emails to marketing lists to help lenders deploy their messages quickly and more cost effectively, so that they can reach their customers before they make their buying decision. The solution, all lenders have to do is send customer names and addresses to Experian, and we can append and send back email addresses for activation. This is a pretty straightforward use case, something that we do every day, but it's a really great example of how companies are innovating and how they are being agile in their data management approach to make pivots to their business. So, which leads us right into our next poll question. In the last 12 months, have you had to activate your data in new ways to develop new products and new services? Yes, no, or I don't know.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for answering the poll question. We have one more at the end of this section before we dive into Q&A. But just a little reminder, if you have questions popping up, feel free to submit them in the Q&A function on your webinar screen. So far we've talked about data fit for purpose in today's market. Just told us about the role that agility plays in data management. And now we want to uncover why quality insights matter. Almost 90% say contact data has become more important than ever to reach customers. I feel like we've been talking about this throughout the webinar, but we're really seeing that organizations are working diligently to stay ahead of the competition by taking a multi-channel approach and efficiently reaching their customers from various angles. So as a consumer, consider all the ways brands are trying to reach you these days. For me, there was one instance that I was so clearly targeted by a retailer, but their multi-channel approach was also extremely effective. If you all know Tom's, the shoe giant, that's the retailer I'm talking about, and their marketing strategy was just super impressive. I saw an ad for a pair of shoes that I loved, and so I put them in my, went onto the website, put them in my shopping cart, and then mulled over them for a few days. I was an avid customer of theirs, so I wanted to think about my purchase a little bit more. Well, the next thing you know, I was getting an ad for those very shoes across Facebook, Instagram, and I also got an email in my inbox reminding me about the items in my shopping cart. A few more days go by, still haven't found the shoes, and I realized I'm getting targeted again for those same shoes across social media and email, and this time with a discount. So that was the moment I went in and bought the shoes. So kudos to Tom for super impressive marketing strategy and multi-channel targeting approach there, because the shoes are great. So the point I'm trying to make here is that it was clear that the retailer knew their customers and took an effective and efficient approach to reach me from multiple different angles. They had the right contact information to make sure I was seeing their ads over social media multiple times, and that their email was reaching my inbox and not landing in my spam folder, which can easily happen. So that example is how one company used my data for superb marketing. As you can tell, this marketer is super impressed with it. But how is that data actually collected, and how can you capture valid contact information from the get-go? This is where data validation solutions come in. So when there's an online application, whether that is signing up for online banking, signing up for a membership, checking out on an e-commerce site, or maybe it's the first time you're on the site and that pop-up pops up where you can enter your email for a discount, it's helpful to integrate data validation checks so that contact data entering the database is accurate and relevant to your business. And what you see on your screen here is address, email, and phone validation integrated into e-commerce sites and CRM platforms.
And this is such a great, just quickly digestible visual of our validation solutions and how they work. You can see it's happening fast, but in the address validation, those addresses that pop up are validated against USPS data. So it helps with consumer experience and getting great data up front on your forms. And what we're not showing is the vast amounts of metadata that's available in the response behind each one of these. So there's data that we provide back that's business versus residential flags, business versus consumer email flags, phone type, and a lot more that can be really valuable for kind of secondary use cases. For example, the business versus personal email flag is really, really important right now for use cases like collections and complying with Regulation F safe harbor requirements. So again, this is a great visual here that shows how our data validation services work, but there's a lot more interesting and new use cases behind the scenes in the metadata that we're able to return and support those secondary use cases. So a lot happening behind those gifts. And side note, I have an abandoned shopping cart and got a email with 10% off. So later on, I'll take a second look. And well done, Linksole, and well done, Tom.
Yeah, so like Jeff said, lots happening behind those gifts. What I really like to think about too is the view that's happening for the customers, right? It's super seamless, but as the business behind that, you get all of this great data to improve your customer experience, improve your marketing efforts, and really support various parts of your operation. And although all data is foundational, right, contact data is a strong starting point, since with it, you are confident that you're reaching your customers. And our research shows that organizations are considering both contact and enriched data going into the next year. More specifically, businesses are focused on getting email, identity, phone, location, and social media data into their database in the next 12 months. And this allows companies across all industries to take that multi-channel and that personalized approach, which as consumers, we all love. Email data is the most important data point that organizations are looking to have this year. And in fact, it's been the preferred channel since last year as well. And if we look at this from an industry standpoint, we see an uptick in this channel outside of retailers, but also from collection agencies like Jeff just mentioned. Obviously, Regulation F is super robust and we don't want to spend too much time on it here, but what we're seeing is that across all industries, even the more traditional ones, they're now able through regulations to reach customers through email. And they want to as well. They know that's the preferred channel for consumers, and they can reach them even when the consumer is on the go. Identity data is next up, and in this case, we define it as name and date of birth data, and it's super important to personalize those campaigns in different outreach programs. As a consumer ourselves, I believe it does make a difference when the experience is personalized to you as a person, and not just a number or another customer that walks through the door. Phone data is the runner-up when we look at what contact data is important over the next year. Phone data plays several roles in a business, from text message marketing to outreach programs and call centers. This is certainly an area of growth and a channel that we see increasing across the market. And lastly, we also see an uptake in the need for location data and social media data. So what happens if you have some contact data but not a complete view? I'm sure a lot of us are in that boat. So data append solutions are a great way to complete your records using the data you have. For instance, if you need email data, we can take name and address and match that to a database of over 1.5 billion records to append verified email addresses. Or if you only have emails, we can reverse the append to add in name and address if you're looking to, say, expand into direct mail or personalization campaign efforts. The same goes for phone too, which is pretty cool. Having a complete view of your consumer records can help you keep customers top of mind and create a competitive and seamless customer experience. So competition and customer experience, top of mind for practically all industries, right? And to stay competitive, it's all about that customer experience. Take mortgage lenders, for example. They can no longer rely on low interest rates for customer retention. Customer experience is that differentiator, and it's what will allow them to stay competitive with other mortgage lenders. So in our study, we find that key reasons data enables customer centricity are operational efficiency. I'm not going to get into this here because Jeff will actually get into it on our case study slide, what's next. We also see data enabling better experiences both online and offline. For companies that are both online and brick and mortar, a seamless and consistent experience is crucial. We also see improved innovation and development of products and services. So by tracking trends and enriching your database with information like transactional data and buying behavior, you can use that information to enhance offerings based on consumer interest. And the last one I want to call out here is greater employee and business user empowerment through data. I always find the operational side of how data enables customer centricity and a business super fascinating, because in our previous studies, we've seen that users want to access data to improve their job performance, which in turn can improve the business performance. So access to trustworthy data, especially for customer-facing roles, can enable them to make faster and better decisions meant for that customer. And keeping that theme of really cool case studies, I will pass it to Jeff to talk more about how data can enable that operational efficiency.
Yes, super cool. And this last case study is probably my favorite because I spent 11 years in the engineering and construction industry. And it's fun to see my worlds collide. And in engineering and construction, workforce management and craft management, contractor management is a huge issue. All these projects are regional. So if a project is starting in Nevada, you need to find your contract and workforce within that region. Likewise, if it's happening in Boston, you need to find different contractors to go to work there. So workforce management is a huge issue. And this company, Optima Site Solutions, maintains a contractor base of over 165,000 contract workers. The company knew that there was significant data decay with their contact data. This is common. This happens. Everyone's contact data will decay eventually. And they also knew that there were several missing fields, and mostly phone numbers, which were critical to communicating with potential contractors. And recruiters were wasting a lot of time trying to contact those potential workers with dead or outdated numbers. And additionally, the company was sending 4 million text messages a year. And their charge on those, even if the message was sent to a bad or wrong number. And then, so this is a pretty common use case with contact data, because we talked about how all contact data decays. This could apply to HR, marketing, account management, collections, anywhere where customer contact data matters. And what we typically do for clients in this position, where they know they have missing fields, they have bad data errors in their contact data set, but they don't really know. And again, thinking to our first poll question, where we did see 72% of the surveyed group originally said they had so much data they didn't know where to start. So what we would typically do is start with a data profile. To profile the data, this allows us to determine the extent of problematic data in a really easy to digest view. And with Optima Site Solutions, we were able to start with profiling their data. We validated their contact data fields, and then we isolated the records that were uncontactable or had bad data, so that we can do other things with them. And through this effort, we were able to identify more than 65,000 records with contact data that needed to be addressed. And this helped save the recruiter's time and the company money by removing all the outdated and or invalid contact data. So again, data profiling is such a powerful tool. In this case, in Optima Site Solutions case, it showed us where to start. And this is an example of what data profiling looks like. As you can see, it's a high-level overview of data categories in your data set. And the profile is data agnostic. In this case, you see customer ID, discount name, forename, surname, email. We don't really care. We look at any structured data, and we look for anomalies in that data. So the data profile, like I said, it's agnostic. We see this used by companies in manufacturing, supply chain, financial services, retailers, nonprofits, public sector. We use this internally, and it provides insight into the structure of data, the completeness of fields, uniqueness of fields. This is really important especially in like account management where all of your customer identifiers should be 100% unique. If you strain your eyes, you can see that this data set is only 99.7% unique, so there's something going on there. Also, it tells you where there may be illogical fields. Again, if you go down to the bottom center of your screen there, you can see there's 42 different formats of zip codes in this data set. So again, something that we can very quickly look at and gain insights into your data to see how it looks. And sometimes we see all green, and sometimes we see areas that we can step in and help address. So on that note, again, we view this as so important. Our last poll question, and we'll leave it up a little bit longer. We had a note that we were too quick. So does your organization currently possess the ability to quickly profile your data? Yes, no, or I don't know. And since we're not displaying the results live on the webinar today, we'll make sure to include them in the follow-up email so you can see how you answered compared to your peers on the call today. And then really can't overemphasize how powerful data profiling is. And I know there's a lot of companies that were registered for the webinar today that own platforms. Making your data available to your customers can be a major platform differentiator. So it helps your customers get the power of those data profiles. So love to talk to anyone interested in learning more about Experian's data profiling capabilities.
Great. What an awesome view of data profiling. Thanks for walking through that, Jeff. So before we get to our Q&A portion of the webinar, we want to quickly review key takeaways. And if there's anything to walk away from this webinar, it's these 3 points. So number one, keep data quality top of mind. We said it time and time again throughout this presentation, but remember that data is foundational, but that it's only actionable when the information is correct. So consider those data validation solutions or data quality integrations that make sense for your organization and that will be easily adopted by your team members to use the right insights in their jobs. Number two, data agility is a must-have. Businesses and the market are moving faster than ever, and it can be challenging to keep up. So remember that data is a backbone of business agility, and make sure you have that infrastructure to streamline and pivot based off of accurate insights and not that gut feeling. And lastly, quality over quantity. There is a lot of data out there. We saw it in the poll questions that we asked here, and we saw it in our research as well. So it's almost too much data to see value. So first and foremost, clean up your databases and make sure only valid and relevant information is in there. And remember, we can help with that. So if you're interested in reading the entire report, you can go to edq.com or download it right from your webinar screen. It will also be sent out via email after this session too. So definitely get your hands on it. Super interesting stuff in there. And before I pass it to Jeff, a quick reminder to start sending in your questions for the Q&A, and you can add them right into the Q&A function on your webinar screen, and we'll get to those in just a moment.
And we would be remiss of not highlighting our data quality product suite here. So these products were used in the case studies, and again, we use them internally. And if you look at the products here, we essentially have 3 product groups. Our data validation services, that's our address, email, and phone validations that we showed the GIF slide. Data enrichment and appends. This is where we can take in a list and append back contact, demographic, and model data. Again, Jordan touched on this earlier where we have some contact data, but not a complete view. That's where we can use our enrichment and appends. And then, of course, our flagship data quality platform. This is our tool where our customers can profile their data. It's also the basis for DataArc 360, which is used in that mortgage example earlier, and a lot of automation. So before we get into Q&A, and I know we're not talking about the results, but nearly 70% of those on the webinar said they do not have the ability to profile their data. So please, if you're interested at all in following up, would love to talk to you more about that. And so I don't know if we have any questions coming through, but it looks like we have a little bit of time if there's any.
Yes, I see a few questions come through, so keep on sending them in. You should be able to submit them right on your Q&A on your webinar screen using the Q&A function. Okay, Jeff, I'm going to throw some towards you. So the first question that I see here is, can you send a list of what metadata is available for your validation services?
Yes. Yes, I think that would be great. We also have a demo site that shows all the data on output. So instead of maybe just a list, we can send the link to the data validations demo site, because then you can actually put in data. You can use your home address, your own contact details, doesn't go anywhere, and see what metadata comes back. And I think, like I said earlier, the pieces that really matter is that resonate the most. They all matter. Is the residence versus commercial address. In particular, I spoke to a credit union that they need to verify that the address they're collecting is a residence, and they actually have their team members type in the address into Google and look it up in Google Maps for every time they collect an address. So being able to get that automatically would save a lot of time and manual effort. And then, like we mentioned earlier, the business versus consumer email flag, especially with Reg F, there's other services where customers don't want to be sending things to a business address. Maybe it's too personal or otherwise, but that's important as well. And I will say that one of the enhancements we're looking at for phone validation is the ability to designate a phone number as disposable, which I'm not sure of the exact time yet, but I think that's going to be a really, really important input for fraud models. So long story short, yes, we can provide a link to the metadata, but that's kind of an overview of what we see as most important right now.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jeff. Thank you. And you kind of answered two questions in one. Another question that Jeff just practically answered was that, can you identify business versus personal emails and residential versus apartment versus commercial addresses? So the answer is yes, and we're finding that more and more businesses today, especially those who are looking to, those who are in collections looking to expand into more digital channels, that it's becoming more and more important and a flag that organizations want today.
Yeah,
also, I think
quick disclaimer on that one. We don't do apartment. We can identify residential versus commercial. Apartments we consider residential.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that.
Just a product clarification.
We love it. All right. Awesome. And okay, one more question here. So any insights you can share specifically around credit unions?
Yes, absolutely. So I mentioned that first piece. And then the other thing that I've been talking to a lot of credit unions about is data profiling. I know you guys are probably sick of me talking about it, but credit unions, the way that they enter some capture data can be very manual. And so like Jordan was kind of alluding to earlier, if data management isn't really set up on ingestion, that could affect the downstream processing. So when we run profiles, one of the really interesting things we can do is quickly look at frequency of fields. So how often is 123 Main Street in a data set? Surprisingly, we see that a lot. And then test at test.com is another one that we see. So I wouldn't say their problems are unique, even in the financial services industry, but I will say that we're starting to have a lot of discussions with credit unions across the board.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeff. That's all I see for questions right now, but always know that you can reach out to us either to Jeff and I or through our contact us page on edq.com. So we're looking forward to hearing from you. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Have a great rest of your day.